Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with the Spain News Update, and former Spanish King Juan Carlos, who's currently in exile in Abu Dhabi, has spoken and says that he will return to the country when the circumstances are right for him to do so. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel through a donation or by buying me a beer or a coffee. Many thanks for that. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support. Now, let's get into the news. And as I said, former King Juan Carlos has spoken and he wants to return to Spain. No surprises there. As we can see from this headline, Don Juan Carlos to a journalist, "I'm looking forward to returning to Spain. I will do so when the circumstances are right and when they do not create instability for my son." Journalist Carlos Herrera travelled this weekend to Abu Dhabi, capital of the United Arab Emirates, to meet Don Juan Carlos. The two had time to talk about various issues, including his current situation after more than a year and a half away from Spain. Carlos Herrera revealed on the program he hosts on COPE that Don Juan Carlos is looking forward to returning to Spain, and that he will do so when the appropriate circumstances arise that do not create any instability for the institution of his son Felipe VI. Herrera said that when he returns, he will stay for as long as he deems appropriate. In addition, the communicator confirmed that Don Juan Carlos is in contact with his son, as well as with his network of closest friends with whom he exchanges opinions. So the groundwork's starting to be laid for the return of the exiled Spanish king Juan Carlos I. And as we saw in the article, he will return when he deems it appropriate and he's no longer causing problems for his son and the institution of the monarchy here in Spain. Now, the main opposition party here in Spain, the Partido Popular, is still asking questions about where European aid money is being spent. And through their mouthpiece press outlet El Mundo, we can read this headline: opposition party PP denounces the massive diversion of European money to socialist municipalities. The PP has intensified its criticism of the government's management of European funds after discovering other cases of unfairness in the distribution of this aid money. The PP point out that they have found new items which show that the government is favouring the administrations governed by the PSOE and its parliamentary partners, while discriminating against those led by the PP. To support this complaint, the PP expressly points out what has happened with a large aid programme amounting to 615 million euros called Destination Tourism 2021, and which is aimed at local authorities. Specifically, between town councils, consortiums and associations of municipalities, the PSOE or Socialist Party has benefited from 46.84% of the subsidies of this tourism program, while the PP has received only 20.50%. So 615 million euros of that European aid money ploughed into a program called Destination Tourism 2021, which is handed out to town halls around the country by the central government. Close to 47% of that money, according to the PP, going to town halls that are run by the Socialist Party, and only 20% of that money going to town halls that are run by the Partido Popular. Now, on the topic of socialist-led governments, in Portugal, where elections were held yesterday, the Portuguese Socialist Party has come out with an absolute majority. As we can see here, Socialist Party leader Antonio Costa wins the Portuguese elections with an absolute majority. Antonio Costa's victory was a foregone conclusion in all the polls, but they did not give him an absolute majority of more than 116 seats to govern Portugal. But the reality has surpassed all those forecasts, and with the electoral circles abroad still to be counted, and in which the Socialist Party usually wins at least 2 of the 4 seats at stake, the Socialists have already secured 117 of the 230 seats of the Chamber of Deputies. Costa will be back in the São Bento Palace without the need for support. For the moment, he has more than 43% of the votes. So the Socialist Party smashing it in the Portuguese elections and getting an absolute majority. So well done, Mr. Costa, because as we know, it's not easy to get an absolute majority in either Spain or Portugal nowadays. Now today, the 31st of January, marks an important anniversary here in Spain, as it's 2 years since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in this country. 2 years after the first COVID-19 infection was detected in Spain, the health authorities have noted a slight downward trend in the pandemic, although hospital admissions continue to rise, as occurred this weekend in 3 autonomous communities, specifically in Catalonia, where 2,942 new patients were admitted in the last 24 hours, in Galicia 23, and in Cantabria with 22 more, pending updates from the rest of the autonomous regions on the health situation in their territories. Despite the slight improvement in some indicators, such as the decrease in infections or a lower risk of outbreaks, which have led most of the regions to lift the restrictions, the authorities are calling for caution, not to lower their guard and to continue adopting self-protection measures. So 2 years have gone by since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Spain. Hasn't time flown? Now there might be some good news on the horizon for the anti-outdoor mask brigade here in Spain, as one news outlet here is going with the headline, "The end of the face mask. Its days are numbered outdoors, but it could be kept indoors." In a scenario in which the pandemic seems to be starting to show signs of exhaustion, it seems that we have already overcome the sixth wave, many are wondering whether it makes sense to continue wearing masks. Some communities, such as Catalonia or Galicia, are already beginning to de-escalate and are advocating lifting restrictions and eliminating the COVID passport or curfews. But the mask, the most iconic image of this pandemic, remains for now. Some European countries have already taken decisions on the matter. Denmark, France and the UK have announced that they will remove the mask despite the very high incidence of cases. In Spain, the Spanish Congress is expected to vote this Tuesday on the Royal Decree of December, which made it compulsory to wear masks. PP, Vox and Ciudadanos have announced that they will vote against it. So the mandatory outdoor face mask wearing rule could be coming to an end on Tuesday if Parliament votes against it. Opposition parties have said that they are no longer in favour of it, but what will the government and its partners do? That's the question. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain, and we can see the accumulated incidence rate sitting just above 3,000 at 3,078. Hospital pressure remains high at 14.8%, and there are 18,393 COVID patients hospitalised around the country. And ICU pressure remains high at 21.8%, and there are 2,060 COVID patients still in ICU. Now, lovers of Spain's iconic cheese Manchego might have noticed that it's not that easy to get your hands on the product in supermarkets at the moment, because as we can see from this headline, the paradox of Manchego cheese. Stocks are exhausted, but there is a shortage of livestock farmers. Manchego cheese, with designation of origin, once again closed the year with stocks exhausted. In 2021, 16 million kilos were sold, a figure similar to that of 2020, in full confinement. Although this year, unlike last year, when supply and demand were balanced, orders have exceeded the stocks available in the region's cheese dairies. The trend in exports has also been maintained, with exports continuing to account for more than half of sales, with the United States once again the most important market, absorbing 33% of all production. Manchego cheese was once again the best-selling cheese outside Spain among cheeses with designation of origin. Among the most important problems facing the sector is the lack of generational replacement. So there we go, not easy to get your hands on authentic Manchego cheese at the moment. I'll say that again, authentic Manchego cheese, because as we know, there are a lot of imitations out there. And why is there a problem with the supply of this particular cheese? Well, as we saw, not enough people producing it. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Drew. Here in Alicante, you can pay anything from 20 to 22 euros a bottle. Yeah, Drew, thanks for the comment, and thanks for adding to the debate that we started last week about the price of gas bottles here in Spain. Somebody in Malaga last week was outraged that they had to pay around 18 euros for a bottle of gas here, and comparing what you're paying there in Alicante, that 18 euros sounds cheap. But as we all know, fuel prices in this country and just about every other European country have been rising over the last 6 months or so. And when a price is going to start to go down, who knows? And given that the government here is apparently going to increase taxes on fuel, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. One here from Baz, great news, and when the tourist industry returns, perhaps that unemployment percentage might creep under 10%. Yeah, Baz, thanks for the comment, and we did see that good news last week about Spain's unemployment figures falling to 13.3%, I think it was, and it was the lowest figure since 2008. And you never know, if the tourism industry does recover this year and jobs are created in that sector, the unemployment rate might fall even more. Time will tell. One here from Lonnie, great news on recovery of labour market, and especially for young people who are so distressed. On my way to Sevilla, getting comfortable with the COVID numbers in Andalusia. I can handle the mask mandate outdoors, but hope they will eliminate it. In NYV=C, though most wear masks outside other than Sarah Palin. Hola Sevilla! Yolani, thanks for the comment, and as I just said in the reply to the previous comment, it is good news that the labour market is recovering. And let's hope more young people here in Spain can find a job, a decent job, in coming years. And when it comes to the outdoor mask mandate here in Spain, as we saw earlier in the video, its days could be numbered, as the Parliament is going to vote on the issue tomorrow or the day after, I believe. And the lady that you mentioned in your comment there, Sarah Palin, is she really still around? One here from Helen. I've just come back from a 2-week holiday in the Canaries and was shocked how the prices have doubled in a lot of foods and drink. I feel sorry for the people having to pay these prices out of low wages. Yeah, Helen, thanks for the comment, and I hope you enjoyed your holiday down there in the Canary Islands. And you're right, rising food and drink prices here in Spain are a real problem, and it's getting more and more difficult for a lot of people to make ends meet. But don't worry, because the Spanish government is increasing taxes to help fix the situation. One here from Subaru Lover 68, you're better off working in Andorra. Low taxes of 10%. There's no point of working in Spain as the socialist government keeps taking and taking from the people. Yes, Subaru Lover, thanks for the comment. And you're right, there are a lot of countries more attractive than Spain when it comes to working and paying tax. Andorra, as you mentioned there, and Portugal, to name two. In fact, various high-profile Spanish personalities have recently left the country, gone to live in Andorra, so that they don't have to pay Spanish tax rates. So is there any reward for working hard in this country if the government taxes you more and more? I don't know. That's the question. And finally, one here from Jim. Why doesn't Spain allow British citizens to use their blue disabled badge for parking? Yeah, Jim, thanks for the comment, and I believe that you are right. Spain no longer allows British people to park in those disabled bays using that blue badge. And the reason? Fairly simple. Brexit, the gift that keeps on giving. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.